There was a time when the world pressed much closer to human life than it does today, before insulation, before engines, before forecasts and medicine. Life was lived directly against the forces of nature. Storms were not background noise. They were events. The sea was not scenery. It was threat and sustenance combined. Disease arrived without warning. Crops failed without explanation. Earthquakes shattered certainty in an instant. For the ancient Greeks, the world was not stable, predictable, or neutral. It was alive, powerful, dangerous, and deeply uncertain. To live in such a world is not merely to lack knowledge. It is to live exposed, and exposure creates a demand, psychological as much as practical, for explanation. Because a world that strikes without reason is not only frightening, it is unbearable. When human beings first attempt to understand the world, they do not begin with mechanisms, they begin with agency. We know, before anything else, what it means to act. We decide, we intend, we cause things to happen. So when something occurs around us, especially something powerful or destructive, our most natural question is not how it happened, but who did it? Who caused this? Who is responsible? Who stands behind the event? This way of understanding is not childish. It is human. Agency is the most immediate form of explanation we possess. So when lightning splits the sky, when the sea turns violent, when the harvest fails or the plague arrives, the ancient mind does not imagine a process. It imagines a will. Someone must have acted. Someone must be thinking. Someone must be behind this. Before science asked how, myth asked who. From this question emerged the gods. Not as idle inventions, but as names given to the most powerful forces shaping human life. The Greek gods were not abstract principles. They were personified realities. Each one embodied a domain that humans could neither control nor ignore. The storm in the sky became a ruler, volatile, authoritative, capable of generosity or destruction. The sea became a temperamental power, vast, indifferent, sometimes bountiful, sometimes lethal. War was not a policy decision. It was a force, frenzied, contagious, often senseless. Harmony, proportion, clarity. These too became divine, because they were rare and fragile achievements. What is striking about the Greek gods is not their perfection, but their humanity. They are jealous, lustful, petty, violent, creative, capricious. They behave like forces of life experienced from the inside, and this is no accident. The Greeks did not imagine the gods to be morally better than humans. They imagined them to be more intense, more powerful versions of the same drives that shape human existence. In this sense, the gods are recognitions, not fantasies. They are the world, translated into characters. But myth did more than explain the world. It made life within it psychologically survivable. A storm caused by nothing is terror. A storm caused by someone is fear. But also relationship. You can respond to a person. You can plead, appease, sacrifice, hope. Myth turns chaos into narrative, and narrative is a stabilizing force. When misfortune has a cause, even a divine one, it is no longer meaningless. Suffering can be placed within a story. Loss can be endured without dissolving into despair. This is why myth was never merely belief. It was structure. Shared myths organized time through ritual. They coordinated emotion across entire communities. They gave people a common language for fear, hope, gratitude, and grief. To believe the gods were watching was not always comforting, but it was orienting. Life was not random. It was addressed, and in a dangerous world, to feel addressed is a form of strength. Over time, something remarkable happened. The Greeks themselves began to ask a different kind of question. Instead of, "Who causes this?" they began to ask, "How does this work?" Thunder was no longer only the expression of anger. It became a natural phenomenon. Disease was no longer a punishment. It became something to observe, classify, and treat. Explanation shifted from agency to mechanism. This was not a rejection of intelligence. It was an expansion of it. A new mode of understanding emerged, one that sought causes without personalities, and it worked. The world became more predictable, more controllable, less mysterious. The age of gods slowly gave way to the age of causes. But this shift came with a cost, because science does not answer the same questions myth once did. Science can explain how lightning forms. It cannot tell you what suffering means. It can predict storms. It cannot console the grieving. In gaining mastery over nature, something else quietly receded. The sense that life itself was speaking to us. Modernity gained accuracy. It gained power. It gained control, but it lost narrative coherence. Ancient explanations were often wrong, but they were intimate. Modern explanations are correct, but impersonal. They describe processes, not purposes, systems, not intentions. And yet the human need for meaning did not disappear. It migrated. What was once attributed to gods now appears in other forms. Ideologies, markets, nations, identities. The need to personify forces, to locate intention behind events, remains deeply human. The gods did not vanish. They changed their names. This is why the Greek myths still speak to us, not because we believe them, but because we recognize them. The forces they describe have not left the world. Desire still overwhelms reason. Violence still erupts without justification. Order still feels precious and fragile. Chaos still arrives uninvited. What modern science locates inside the brain? Drives, impulses, moods. The ancients projected into the world. Both are attempts to understand the same realities from different directions. Myth does not explain how the world works. It explains what it feels like to live in it. And perhaps that is why, even now, long after belief has faded, the gods remain unforgettable. Before science taught us how the world works, myth taught us how to endure it, and that may be its most abiding truth.